Good morning to you. Welcome in to the 615 Prep Scoreboard, presented by Fifth Gear Technology Concepts. Chris Brooks with you on a gorgeous morning around Middle Tennessee. And after a great night of football, weather really couldn't be better. Let's talk about some scores, guys. Let's bring everybody in. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Yeah, great night of football. And got some highlights from a couple of games to show you guys this morning, along with all the rest of the scores from around the area. But first, I just want to say, I'm glad we're out of that summer heat, at least for right now. And last night was awesome.
Oh, it was glorious. It was glorious. I was tired. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just saying, by far the nicest Friday night weather-wise. No humidity. It was just great.
I really wish that they would back the season up about 2-3 weeks and get out of that heat. I understand, there are consideration factors and things like that, but I mean, this is football weather. 2 weeks ago, it wasn't football weather.
Oh God, no.
It wasn't surfing weather. I mean, it was.
Yeah, it was more like dive in the pool and stay under for 30 minutes weather. All right, let's dive into some scores, shall we? Let's get it started with Oakland's 49-0 win over Antioch, and the Patriots on offense, no trouble with the Bears. Kind of called it off late in the second half to keep it reasonable with 49-0 for the Patriots, who improved to 3-1. They've got Blackman coming in next week, so they'll get a region test. But Antioch, after their win last week, tough loss for them, but look for them to bounce back next week. They're going to host McGavock in week number 5.
Big night for Ashton Jones, 146 yards, 3 touchdowns on only 7 carries. So, like you said, they did call the dogs off in I believe in the later in the game, fourth quarter, I think.
Yeah, this is honestly a little bit better win than what it looks like with Antioch beating Cane Ridge last week. I think Antioch may wind up being a playoff team, so a big win here for Oakland.
Yep.
Davidson Academy handled their business at home, 43-26 over BGA, and the Bears improved to 4-0.
Knox Roberts just kind of continuing what he's done all year. I think he ended up with 5 total touchdowns. BGA put up a lot more points than they did against Davidson Academy last year, but Bears just keep on rolling.
Yeah, great game if you love passing. 730 yards of passing yards in this game. And like you said, Knox Roberts and Caden Stroud had themselves a game.
Yeah, the second half really for BGA really opened up with the passing attack. Davidson Academy, I believe, was up 22-7 at halftime. And that 7 points in the first half for BGA came on a 88-yard scoop and score, I believe. So, but that offense opened up in the second half. It'd be interesting to see what they can do. They were playing catch up this week. They play CPA next week, so that's a tough region opponent for them again. So it'd be interesting to see if the Wildcats can hang around with the Lions.
That's a Thursday nighter for BGA too against CPA, and may try to slide down there for that one. So to check BGA out and against the Lions in another region game for them. Tight one here, and Blackman gets its first win of the year for Matt Kreisky, 28-27 at Summit. Impressive for the Blaze to get in the win column. They've had a bit of a struggle the first 3 weeks, but going to give a payoff here.
Yeah, it's a big win for the Blaze. Summit on the back end of back-to-back really close losses, obviously last week with Green Hill, this week with Blackman. So Spartans kind of figuring some things out. Pretty young team, it looks like, but good for Blackman to get that first win.
Yeah, it's taken some time for Coach Coleman to get that cupboard restocked down there. But they're playing hard, they're playing tough. But great night for Carter Gregory for Blackman.
Yeah, Summit's going to have to travel to Brentwood next week. While Blackman, like we just mentioned, will be visiting Oakland in region play. So, tough opponents for both those teams next week. Let's check out some highlights, and let's go ahead and go over to Father Ryan for our spotlight game as the Irish hosting Brentwood Academy. Good start for Brentwood Academy on this one. Third play of the game here. George McIntyre just lets this thing develop, and develop it did. This is a 71-yard touchdown as Walker Bremer is on the receiving end of this catch-and-run score. Less than a minute in, Eagles up 6-0. They went for 2. It did not get it. So a 6-point lead for Brentwood Academy at that point. But Father Ryan responding quickly. JoJo Crump's going to find his favorite target. It's Charlie Becker. And as you'll see in just a moment, exactly what Becker can do when you put him in the red zone. Very nice catch there along the sideline in the corner of the end zone. Father Ryan goes out in front 7-6. They take a 14-6 lead as Crump calls his own number, this one from 4 yards out. And take a 14-6 lead still in the first quarter here. Brentwood Academy, though, ensuing kickoff. We don't normally show kickoffs, but this one's going to get it for a reason. Shavar Young fields it, cuts up field, breaks the tackle, and says, peace out. 87 yards, and Brentwood Academy is right back level as they get the 2-pointer to tie it at 14 apiece. Crump and Becker connected again to put the Irish back out in front. The Eagles responded once more. McIntyre finds Colby Harmon for this score. We're tied at 21, 9:46 left in the first half. It's going back and forth. Key play here from the Father Ryan defense. 4th and goal from the 2. They get the stop just shy of the goal line and turn Brentwood Academy away. Then Father Ryan proceeds to drive it 99 yards. As you can see, they're right there at the 1. I'm going to move us forward just a little bit because JoJo Crump's going to finish this drive off. Nice fake there, and he's gone. 64 yards later, it's 35-21 Father Ryan, and they took that lead into halftime. When it's your night, it's your night. Crump on this carry. Looks like he's going in. Uh-oh, ball's out. Doesn't matter, though. Caden Anku is Johnny on the spot there. Takes it in himself. It's 42-21. Father Ryan then recovers. A fumble on the ensuing kickoff. And they make Brentwood Academy pay. Crump to Charlie Becker. Again, the 3rd time of the night. This one 22 yards out. 49-21 Irish. There's still 2:35 left in the 3rd. And Crump finds the end zone one more time. His 3rd rushing touchdown. Actually, it's his 4th. And the mercy rule running clock is on. And that's a big deal against Brentwood Academy. Going to show this one. This did not count. This was Alan Bryan in the end zone with the interception. He takes it coast to coast. This would have been a 100-yard pick 6, but it got waved off due to an illegal block. Father Ryan with a route. 56-21. And if you think it gets the turnover chain anyway here. Good on him. You go coast to coast and run that hard for a pick 6, you go ahead and get that turnover chain. Father Ryan's excited, and they should be. A big 56-21 win over Brentwood Academy. The first time in 10 years. Let's hear from JoJo Crump.
I mean, we knew it was going to be a quarterback battle at the end of the day, but you really, showed that you belong in this division. You really stood up. So how does that make you feel after a big game like that?
It feels great. Man, I'm so high off life right now. I mean, I love this game. The whole message this week was believe. We've been on the bad side of it a few years now, but we're here to say that history's gone. It's the future, it's the present. And that all happened in November. It didn't happen Monday at practice, Tuesday at practice. It happened in November. We decided to make that decision to believe.
So what message do you have to the haters that picked VA over you guys?
I mean, I'm a nice guy, I ain't got much to say, but just know, don't all go against us again. It's because we're coming.
All right, great game.
Thank you.
I'm not really sure what's more impressive to the fact that you guys were rather dominant on offense in that win, or you had a running clock in the second half, but how satisfying was tonight for you guys?
Well, just for our guys playing that way and playing that way for 4 quarters. If we haven't played a 4-quarter game yet, I'm obviously really proud of that, and against a quality opponent nonetheless. So I thought their preparation was really, really good this week. I think they were super focused, and most importantly, they believed, and that's what matters to me as a coach.
Did having last week off help with that a little bit?
I don't know. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. I was a little worried that not playing in week 3 would have us not physically ready to go 4 quarters here in week 4, but I think looking back on it, probably now after the game, it probably helped us a little bit.
You've got some special playmakers on offense with JoJo and Charlie, but offensive line did a good job of keeping them clean too.
They were fantastic tonight. They were absolutely fantastic. Coach Dooling, our O-line coach, and Jacob Ollis, Max Kidd, Andrew Vick, Mason Smitherman, and Wyatt Baker were unbelievable tonight.
We know how tough this classification is, but it seems like you guys sent a message tonight. What do you want people to know about this team going forward after an impressive win like this?
Nothing at all. It's not about what anybody else thinks or knows. It's only about us. So I could care less what anybody else, wants to say or think or whatever else. I mean, it only matters what we're doing to us and just trying to win the ball game every week.
Awesome, Coach. Congratulations. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
So a couple of notes on this one. It was the first running clock against Brentwood Academy by an in-state team since this rule was instituted in 2007. The only other time it's happened to Brentwood Academy was in 2011, a 45-7 loss to Trinity out of Kentucky. They haven't been mercy ruled since. 10-year losing streak to Brentwood Academy, gone. Father Ryan had 420 yards of offense in the first half. JoJo Crump, 9-12 passing, 245 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he ran for 177 more and 3 touchdowns himself. He accounted for 7 scores. All in all, just a fantastic night for Father Ryan.
Yeah, it should have been 8, but he had to share that one.
Yep.
But, 9 completions, 4 touchdowns. That's efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's Saturday, guys, but I'm going to channel my Paul Heyman here. I got a spoiler alert for you. A certain member of the Fighting Irish may be the player of the week this week.
It'll be hard. He's definitely the front runner in the clubhouse.
Yeah. And also, shout out to JoJo Crump, who does watch our show too. So I want to make sure and point that out too. We may have a little something for them on Wednesday's show regarding our picks. So just a little spoiler. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and I'm standing on the sidelines, when the mercy rule comes into effect, right? And I'm standing next to one of the clergy at Father Ryan on the sideline. So I don't know whether they brought in a little extra help or what, but he noticed. He said, "The clock's still running." And I said, "Yes, sir." I said, when it gets over a certain amount, it's the mercy rule. He said, "Well, I'm all for mercy, but these guys have just beat us so much." So when you have a member of the clergy telling you that mercy was, maybe not in the forefront of what he was thinking, this was a very, very meaningful win for Father Ryan.
Yeah. Sure.
And I will shout out, my key coming into this game was which defense could show up, and that defense was definitely Father Ryan's defense. So shout out to Coach Broderick, new defense coordinator there for Father Ryan. That defense really stepped up and was able to let Father Ryan get that separation, and then Brentwood Academy was playing from behind, and that's just such a hard feat to do.
Yeah, you notice after that 4th down stop at the goal line, Brentwood Academy didn't score again.
Yeah. And Chris, you brought up a great point, when we were talking about this game yesterday, is that it was that drive and the ensuing drive that probably was the key to everything right there, because Father Ryan gets the stop. Then they run 2 quarterback sneaks with JoJo Crump. They have 3rd and long inside their 5. Everybody knows he's going to get the ball. They still can't stop him. Gets the first down and then gets the 64-yard touchdown run and puts them up 2 scores. And at that point, I don't know whether they started to believe or whether Brentwood had just some of the, some of the air go out. But at that point, that game changed.
Yep. And it changed in a big way for Father Ryan. They're now 3-0. They had their off week last week and made the most of it. They've got NBA coming in next week. Brentwood Academy has a test with McCauley in week number 5.
You look at this Father Ryan team, last thing on that, they won 2 games last year. They're 3-0 already. I'm pretty sure they're closing in on how many points they scored all of last year after a win like that. This team, I think we saw it last year. We were all at the Pope game last year where obviously Pope ended up winning. Kenny Minchie had himself a night, but you saw flashes of what this team could be with Charlie Becker having a big night. JoJo Crump's just taking that next step. Father Ryan's not a team we talked about as being a huge factor in this D2 AAA race this year. That's changed. I mean, that's
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
They got in a couple weeks, they get Ensworth, I believe. That's huge. That's a huge matchup. JoJo, yeah, what JoJo said, don't pick against them. I 100% agree with them. They put the state on notice last night.
Let's keep going with more scores. Centennial now 4-0 as they get a win in region play over James Lawson. They hand the Lightning their first loss in school history, 35-0. And the Cougars just keep on rolling along, guys.
Yeah, after a week last week against Independence where I thought maybe they didn't play as good as they could have, they took control of this one early on and definitely separated themselves as the favorite in that region in 5A.
Nothing for James Lawson to hang their heads about in this one. Centennial, they're just taking, I mean, they're a great team. Obviously, last week was kind of a heat check for them in a sense where they needed to come back and win. James Lawson will get there eventually, but right now, Jamal's got this Centennial team rolling.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that James Lawson, went out there and fought the good fight. Coach Lilly knows it's a building process there. But what a great win for Centennial.
Yep, they'll look to get right back on the horse next week. They've got Spring Hill coming in, while Centennial's going to host Springfield in a non-region game in week number 5. White House Heritage improves to 3-1, and they win their region opener at home against Cheatham County 21-14. Patriots are going to travel to Forest next week. Cheatham County gets to face Fairview at home.
Yeah, Cheatham made it close, but Eddie and Herbert picked off a pass with a minute left to seal the deal.
Middle Tennessee Christian, no trouble with Clarksville Academy. They win 42-7 as they improve to 4-0 in the year.
Yeah, we were talking before we came on, and if there is anyone so far to this point that can challenge Friendship Christian in that region and Tyson Walcott as Mr. Football, in my opinion, it's got to be Eli Wilson. I mean, this guy is just having a great season so far, and definitely one of the main cogs in the reason why the Cougars are 4-0 to this point.
Siegel also unbeaten, 21-0 after the shutout of Coffee County at home, and the Stars keep on shining through the first part of the season. They travel to Hendersonville next week. Coffee County gets Paige.
Kind of a low-scoring game for Siegel, but, I mean, the fact that they shut out Coffee County, their defense really rose up in this one, but kind of shocked to see how low-scoring this was for Siegel, honestly, with how they've put up points these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, you said it, Joe. The defense, actually, this is their second shutout of the season. Their defense is playing very well. They're 4-0 for the first time since 2012. So next week's game is going to be a big test for them.
Cornersville takes down Ezel Harding 54-34. Ezel Harding now 2-2 after the loss. Cornersville also improving to 2-2 with that win. The Eagles were going to try to get back on it next week. They've got Ballard Memorial out of Kentucky coming in. Well, Cornersville's going to Richland. Fun finish at Montgomery Central. Kirkwood and Montgomery Central trade scores in the last minute, but the Redhawks get the last laugh 21-20 and improve to 1-1 in region play, getting their first win of the season, while Montgomery Central drops to 0-4.
Jaden Elliott with a late catch to put the Redhawks on top.
DeKalb County knocks off Watertown 20-10. That the Tigers now 2-2. They've got Gordonsville coming in next week. Watertown's at Cascade after falling to 2-2 with that loss. I think Watertown led this game. I think it was 10. Was it 10-7 at half, Cam?
10-3 at half in favor of Watertown. They came out in the second half. DeKalb did. Drove down the field and scored to tie it up 10-10, and it just seemed like Watertown never really could get going in the second half, and DeKalb was able to pull it out.
East Nashville keeps on rolling, 54-0 winners at Maplewood in region play. The Eagles now 4-0 on this young season. Maplewood is now 0-4.
Keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Eagles will travel to Liberty Creek next week. Maplewood is at Glencliffe. East Robertson had some struggles with Sycamore in this one, but pulled away in the second half to win 49-20.
Yeah, the stories just seems like every week the same story for East Robertson. They're kind of slow out of the gate, and then all of a sudden you look at the stat sheet after the game, and they have scored a lot of points, and Isaiah Groves has over 200 yards. That seems to be the factor with East Robertson up to this point. But I know Coach Brooks, and he is not happy with some of the things that have been happening in the last couple of weeks, but I look for them to get that corrected in time for region play in a couple of weeks.
They're going to have Joe Burns at home next week. Sycamore is going to travel to Stratford to try to get into the win column. FRA keeps getting the win column in a big way, 69-7 over Good Pasture in a region game, and kind of a shocking score considering Good Pasture has played pretty good ball in the first 3 weeks.
FRA just kind of flexing right now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Another big night for Ty Clark the third, 16 carries, 167, 3 touchdowns. This was a shocker to me because I thought that Good Pasture had been playing some fairly decent defense, but wow.
Yeah, I think this game, I was able to watch. I watched about the first quarter of it, and then I decided to watch something else. But this game, it honestly, and this is not knocking Good Pasture, it's just really how good and efficient FRA was in that first quarter. It looked like a high school team versus a JV team or a middle school team because they were just that dominant, especially up front. Ty Clark, as you mentioned, over 150 yards again. That first quarter, I mean, he scored, I think, twice in that first quarter, and, he was making it look easy. Looked like he was playing on rookie mode. I believe somebody else said that about JoJo Crump on Twitter last night. So, but it definitely looked like somebody was playing on rookie mode. And you look up, and it's halftime, and it's 55-0 at halftime in this one. So
we need that on a T-shirt, Joe.
Yeah.
But I mean, Good Pasture's a young team, and sometimes young teams play like young teams do.
They're going to have to get back on the horse fast, though, because they've got a key region game at Pope Prep next week. FRA, meanwhile, is going to travel to Northwest for a non-region tussle with those guys. Friendship Christian, 42-27 winners at Grace Christian as the Commanders now improved to 4-0.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
These last 2 weeks, they've got Friendship's gotten kind of tested, and then they just kind of pull away in the end, and Tyson Walcott has literally everything to do with that. I mean, he's kind of stamped himself as the front runner for Mr. Football in this division with how he's played, and Friendship just keeps finding ways to win.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I just want to, Death Taxes and Tyson Walcott going off for 4 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that should go on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing though that Friendship does, and I think Coach McNeil would be the first one to say this. The last couple of weeks defensively, they need to clean some stuff up, and I think they know that. But when you got a player like Walcott, I mean, you can outscore a lot of opponents.
Well, and let's not shortchange Grace Christian here. Kyle Davidson had a good night throwing for them. That program is just continuing to grow.
Yep.
Friendship Christian gets Republic at home next week. Grace Christian hits the road and travels to Clarksville Academy. Gallatin, a bunch of Road Warriors last night, 48-14 winners at Dixon County. Yeah, big win for the Green Wave.
I'll be the first one to say this. If I'm in that other region, the way Gallatin's offense is starting to pick up steam, I don't want to see them in the playoffs.
If their defense can catch up to how their offense is performing, they are going to be problems later on in this year.
Dixon County drops to 2-2 with that loss. They're back in region play next week against Kirkwood, while Gallatin, improving to 2-2, will travel to Warren County. Nolensville, another one of the unbeatens that keeps going, 55-0 over Glencliffe as the Knights improve to 4-0.
Reports
They're
of the
really,
Knights.
really quiet 4-0. I will say that. Nobody's talking about the Knights, and I think Coach Derrick is okay with that.
That's what I was going to. I agree with you. I think rumors of the Knights' demise have been greatly exaggerated.
Nolensville gets Franklin at home next week. Glencliffe will have a home game against Maplewood. Gordonsville, a region win at Joe Burns, 35-6 for the Tigers. They improved to 2-2 with that win. Joe Burns drops to 1-3.
Should be a good one next week between the Tigers and the Tigers.
Yeah. Gordonsville at DeKalb County. Joe Burns will travel to East Robertson in week number 5. Hendersonville 61-0 over Hunters Lane. And the Commandos have large, except for that loss to Brentwood, they've been putting on the points in the first half of the season.
Yeah, against the teams they should beat, they are dominating, and it's not even close.
Just to put that in perspective, so that way people really know how dominant that Brentwood defense is. Hendersonville has scored 47, 54, 61, and 6. Just to put that in perspective.
Let's see if the pattern holds. They're looking at 68 next week.
Yeah, but they're playing Siegel, so it could
Playing
be
Siegel, so it could
68
be-
to 67 game.
We could be having a basketball score next week if that pattern holds.
Exactly.
Hendersonville 3-1 with a win. Like I said, the Stars are coming in from Siegel next week. Hunter's Lane will try to get back on the horse, but they got to go to Henry County to do it.
Ooh.
Brentwood, a tussle with Henry County. That Patriot defense gave Brentwood fits 17-14 for the Bruins, but they do get it done at home.
Yeah, this one was 6-3 Henry County at the half. I was able to watch pretty much the whole second half of this one, and Henry County really pinned Brentwood deep and was playing kind of field position back and forth, and wound up getting down inside the 20 for about midway through the third, and Brentwood was able to get a fourth down stop. Like 3 plays later, they go 70-something yards for a touchdown, and Brentwood winds up scoring again to go up 17-6. Henry County adds a score late, but Brentwood hangs on.
If Brentwood really is a state contender, they need games like this. It's simple as that. I mean, you need obviously the blowout wins are nice, and obviously Brentwood Academy 2 weeks ago, but for them to come out and find a way to win against a really good Henry County team like this, that's a great win for the Bruins.
Yeah, and they got held to 86 yards passing in this game. That's gonna it's like you said, good that they can come out with a win when a part of their offense isn't performing. Then they have to lean on another part.
Yep.
Good teams win these kinds of games.
Yeah, I talked about on the Mid-State 48 about how this was kind of the gap between the top 6A teams and the top 5A teams. Gap's not that big, as we just found out. Henry County just told the state, hey, we may be the top team in 5A, and be hard to argue it right now.
I'd say it's them and Knox West. You look at those two teams, just the way they've played so far this year. It's pretty clear who the top 2 teams are right now, I think.
Yeah, the biggest takeaway I had for the Patriots in this one was their line play is at another level compared to a lot of teams at the 5A level. This Brentwood team has dominated the line of scrimmage the first 3 weeks, and they did not dominate last night. So that speaks testaments to this Patriot offense and defensive line.
Yep. Brentwood's got Summit at home next week. Henry County will host Hunter's Lane. Hillsboro's 3-1. They win 27-7 at Cane Ridge, and the Burros kind of having a bit of a resurgence in the first half of the season. Cane Ridge just struggling out. They're now 0-4.
Yeah. That is an odd stat line to look at there. 0-4 for Cane Ridge. We knew they lost quite a few playmakers, but they may have also lost quite a few senior leaders on that team. So you have a young team here, and it may just be taking some time. Every team goes through it. Hillsboro's on the upswing.
Yeah, Hillsboro's been the team that's gone through it the last couple of years, right?
Right.
They figured things out. I'm kind of shocked by after seeing Cane Ridge week 1 against Mount Juliet and the way they rebounded late in the game and just the way they played. I thought they would, continue to take steps forward. It just not how it's panned out so far.
Cane Ridge travels to Stewarts Creek for a region battle. Hillsboro gets Kenwood at home next week. Independence coaches need to be looking at some overtime pay because they've been through it the last 3 weeks. 3 consecutive overtime games. This one double overtime. They get it done again, 31-24 at Franklin. The Admirals have kind of been snake bitten here, guys, but Indy is getting it done in a little bit extra time.
I don't know if snake bitten is the right word for it. Scott, I think you have some information on who they need to call.
Yes, a voodoo woman named Phyllis. Yeah, they've got some kind of some bad juju over there because they are so close, and it's just I keep thinking that this is the week with Franklin, and it's coming. I said at the beginning of the year, this team will not go 0-10, and it's coming. These guys are getting better every week, and when it hits, it's going to hit hard.
Can you imagine what that moment's going to be like when they finally do get that win? It's going to be just the joy and jubilation. It's going to be fun to watch. Got to give credit to Independence here, though. Scott Stidham's come in here, second year in, and taking over a team that realistically could be 3-1 right now. They heartbreaking loss last week. He's got the Eagles figuring some things out, and if you're able to win 2 of the 3 overtime games you've played so far, that's a big deal.
Yep. They're going to try to get it done in regulation next week when they travel to Beach, and Franklin's hitting the road to Nolensville even though Franklin's 0-4 against a 4-0 team. That's not one to be taken lightly for sure, as we've seen through these first 4 weeks. West Creek gets into the win column, a 28-7 win over Kenwood, and the Coyotes now 1-3 in the season, and they drop Kenwood to 0-4.
Yeah, huge win for West Creek. Is that the top half of that region is really, I think, kind of set itself alone, and then there's about 4 teams fighting for 1 or 2 playoff spots. So this was a huge win for West Creek as far as playoff implications go.
Absolutely.
Kenwood now 0-2 in region play, so a tough loss for the Knights as far as playoff seeding goes, or at least for their hopes to get into the playoffs this season. Ensworth also 4-0, 38-14 winners over Knoxville Catholic. And the Tigers travel to Lipscomb Academy next week in what should be one of the best defensive battles we've seen in a while. Or at least we think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jaron Sensabaugh, former Knox Catholic receiver, now with Ensworth with 3 catches for 111 yards and 2 scores.
Ensworth 4-0, Knoxville Catholic now 3-1 after the loss. Paige 3-1 after a 38-7 win over Laverne at home, and Patriots go to Coffee County next week to try to improve it.
Paige with a lot of close games here early on. They needed a win like this. This type of win gives you some confidence.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think this was a game that Paige needed, getting their offensive line and everybody on the same. Oh gosh, Paige. It didn't mean to go there, but it'll be interesting the steps they take going forward. Now, is this the catalyst that they needed to start putting together a lot of wins?
Mm-hmm.
Laverne's 3rd straight loss since that opening week win over West Creek. They're now 1-3 and traveling to Smyrna next week. Paige on the road at Coffee County. Liberty Creek's first ever region game is its first ever region win. It's 55-18 at Stratford, and the Wolves really needed that. They've had a few tough weeks to start the year.
Yeah, Brian Rager, you can't say enough about how well he plays and what he means to that team. And some of the balls he threw were just absolutely perfect passes. This Liberty Creek team is going to get, as they continue to grow, they're probably about another year or 2 away from really making a lot of noise.
Yeah, tough game next week against East Nashville. But, one thing that I've noticed with this Liberty Creek team, guys, they've been able to score points this year.
Mm-hmm.
You look against a good Smith County defense last week, they put up 27. That's a game that if they get a couple breaks, score-wise, that could be interesting. But East Nashville's definitely been dominant up to this point.
Stratford, where that loss drops to 1-3 and 1 in region play. They'll host Sycamore next week. And as Cam said, Liberty Creek with that tough East Nashville team coming in to Gallatin in week number 5. Marshall County shuts out Greenbrier 37-0. If anybody's going to contest with Pearl County in this region, it would figure to be Marshall County. They're 3-1 and 2-0 in league play so far.
Yeah. Tough night for the Bobcats.
Greenbrier falls to 1-3 with that loss. They're 1-2 in region play. Next week, they will travel to Station Camp. CPA and MBA, and then CPA wins this one 22-7 at home to improve to 3-1, while MBA, they're 0-4 after this one.
Sort of similar to that Father Ryan game. NBA was driving. They were down 6-0 midway of the second quarter. They were driving in, got down to about the CPA 18 or so, and CPA was able to get an interception. and drove down the field and scored with 20 seconds left in the first half to go into the half 12-0. And after that, it was pretty much CPA's game. But NBA still struggling on offense. Defensively, they're comparable with a lot of teams, but offensively, they just can't catch any breaks.
Is it me, or does it seem like Jackson Matthews has like a highlight play every doggone game? This week it was a sideline pass that he managed to get like one toenail in bounds that really gave them put the game away for CPA. This kid is just, he is playing lights out right now.
Short week for CPA, though. They'll play at BGA Thursday night. NBA gets to travel to Father Rhyme next week. So it does not get any easier for the Big Red trying to get their first win of the year. Scroll back one real quick. Red Bowling Springs, 42-12 winners over Mount Juliet Christian as the Bulldogs are 3-1. And I'm not sure I've ever seen the Bulldogs be 3-1 this point in the year, to be honest with you.
I'm not for sure. I believe their best record is 5-5 under Kyle's shoulders. But another winnable game next week for the Bulldogs against Jackson County. Mm-hmm. And guys, I know we don't talk about Red Bowling a lot because they play a lot of teams outside of our area, but they got a quarterback up there named Aubrey Link, and he's got one of the more talented arms in our area.
As a former radio man for the Bulldogs, I'm very pleased to see that how well they're playing right now. And you're right, Cam. Aubrey Link is the real deal, and not a whole lot of people know about him because of Red Bowling Springs. If you get a chance, he's worth the price of admission.
Mount Juliet Christian with that loss drops to 2-2, and they'll travel to Nashville Christian next week. And as Cam said, Red Bowling goes to Jackson County to try to add another win to that column. Harpeth hung tough with Mount Pleasant, but ultimately couldn't get it done 14-10 as Mount Pleasant knocks off the Indians in a region game there in 2A. The Indians now 1-3 after the loss. They've got Waverly at home next week.
Yeah, huge surprise for me, though, that Harpeth was Mount Pleasant has beaten some really good teams up to this point. They beat a Waverly team that I believe is 3-1 after last night. Harpeth was up 10-0 midway through the third. 2 late scores by Mount Pleasant, and they pull it out. But definitely a good showing for Harpeth.
Kirkwood keeps it rolling. The Copers are now 4-0, 49-29 winners over Northeast with that 2-0 mark in region play. The Copers are setting themselves up for some good things.
Yeah, Chad Watson's team seems to be a little bit ahead of the curve with brand new teams. He's got that team really believing. It's going to be interesting a little bit down the line if they can keep that going when they tangle with Clarksville.
Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Cobra Kai just keeps on rolling.
We can end the show on that, guys. I'm good with it.
A win next week for Kirkwood, though, guys, would all but lock up a playoff spot for Coach Watson in his first year. So huge game next week against Dixon County.
Yep.
But this Kirkwood team, they definitely seem to not have any trouble scoring, so that's a plus. And led by Perry Sneed over there, he kind of does everything for him, plays offense and defense. But yeah, another team that's just kind of quietly having a really good start to their season.
Yep, Kirkwood's going to leave the dojo next week to go to Dixon County for that region matchup, while Northeast falls to 0-4. They're at Rossview in week number 5. Overton gets in the win column, big for the Bobcats, 39-16 at McGavick.
Good win there for the Bobcats. I think that they had been struggling earlier in the year, and you just have to be happy about Coach Broom and his program.
Yeah, it's a very young roster over there at Overton and gets that first win of the year out of the way. They're at Ravenwood next week in region play, while McGavick travels to Antioch in a key region contest for those two teams. Beach, no trouble with Portland. They shut them out 35-0 as the Buccaneers improved to 2-2 and get that region opening win, and a key point for the Bucks. They're back at home, too, after some of the problems they've had with their stadium. They got to be back home and win 35-0 over Portland. They got Indy coming in next week, while Portland is at Clay County.
Yeah, Caden Powell's story here. 2 touchdown passes, 2 touchdown runs for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I was going to actually go the opposite way than that, Scott. Coming into the season, Beach's story was Caden Powell. Could he transition from 2A football to 5A football? But their defense has been really good so far this year. Other than giving up 28, I believe, to Collierville on the road, the highest outpoint is Riverdale at 16. So, when your defense only gives up 2 scores a game, you're going to be in every game that you play. So,
yep.
DCA 42-3 winners over Providence Christian. The Wildcats now 3-1. And Scott Mitchell Carey had another good night.
Yeah, Mitchell Carey 15 to 20, 277 and 5 touchdowns. He is he's basically I'm not going to say he's the offense. This team always has good lines and this team is always competitive, but another great night for him.
Wildcats get Columbia Academy at home next week. Providence Christian now 1-3. They are at home against Grundy County. Pearl Cone, first game of the new turf. It was a success, 41-14 over Pure Academy as the Firebirds now improved to 4-0.
Yeah, I think Tarleton had he christened the new field with a 5-touchdown performance, if I'm not mistaken.
Pearl Cone at Montgomery Central next week, while Pure Academy out of state at Rosa Fort in Mississippi. Ravenwood's now 3-1. They've won 3 straight after that opening loss to Alcoa. 28-6 winners at Smyrna. Bulldogs dropped to 0-4.
Coach Hester just knows how to turn things around, doesn't he? I mean, you lose that opening game to really good Alcoa team, and they've just kept it going since. Raptors kind of showing that this region where Brentwood seems to be the favorite, it ain't going to be a one-team region. They're going to be right there in the mix like they always are.
Yeah, and Smyrna having the same issues as Cane Ridge with really just young, inexperienced players learning at the high school level. And unfortunately, you can't get enough reps in to be ready to go for the season. You kind of got to learn on the fly.
Yeah, in those big regions, Cam, I agree with you. The Rutherford County regions and things like that. Boy, you have one hiccup in your class with and it can cause you to have a bad season, but you can turn it around really quickly. So
Smyrna will try to get in the win column next week. They will host the Vernon region play. Ravenwood, as we mentioned earlier, gets to host Overton. Charleston County, no trouble with Republic, 48-8 for the Yellow Jackets, who improved to 2-2.
Yeah, Cole Gregory, big night for the Yellow Jackets. 8 of 9 passing for 194 yards, 4 touchdowns. Also had a score on the ground and 10 tackles on defense. So
Charleston County will travel to Smith County next week. Republic is at Friendship Christian. Fairview in double overtime hangs on against Richland 29-28 as the Yellow Jackets improve to 2-2.
We continue to see double overtime, triple overtime games. I can't recall. Is this more than we've usually seen at this point in the season, Chris?
We've had several in this last 3 weeks. Of course, Independence has accounted for 3 of them, but we've had several this season.
It's got everything to do with the number 2. We've seen double overtime. We've seen more safeties than we've ever seen.
Seen a lot of double passes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
we go in deep in this one.
There were 3 in my game last night. It was insane.
So are we saying 2 is the magic number instead of 3 like Schoolhouse Rock said before? Because I want to know.
Schoolhouse Rock is a lie.
Wow. There it is. Scott, you've just ruined my childhood. Thanks for that.
Scott, you monster.
What are you going to tell me next? Never mind. We're not going to go there. Let's get to some more highlights because we've got until the second quarter. Gardner puts Rockville on the board from the yard out. They go up 7-0. Then Jacob Jones finds Javarian OT for a 68-yard touchdown to even the score. Kenny Jordan puts the Red Hawks up 13-7 on that short touchdown run. Then the Rockets defense gets involved. Devontae Porter with a pick six, 14-13 Rockets. Christian Odell, a 13-yard TD run through Rockville, 20-13 after they missed the two-pointer. Gardner, another TD right there, 27-13 Rockville. Brennan Mayhew finds Odell, and he does the rest, going 78 yards as the Rockets get out to a 34-13 lead with 6:39 to play. But Stewarts Creek didn't give up in this one. Kenny Jordan's going to catch this one from Jacob Jones, a 37-yard touchdown. It's 34-19 Rockville, but Rockville holds on for a 34-26 victory as the Rockets improved to 2-2 with that win.
Yeah, that was more of the Rockville team that we were expecting this year. Coming out of the gate, a couple tough losses to some teams that we maybe thought that they should have beaten. But definitely a good way to rebound last night for the Rockets, especially heading to play Riverdale next week.
A lot of mistakes for Stewarts Creek here. They had five turnovers in this game, including a pick six. Rockville's defense really showed up, and they took advantage of the breaks they were given.
Yeah, Stewarts Creek. I just thought, just the way they played this year, I thought it was a given. Just they've been rolling, and Rockville, they've kind of struggled. I think this is we said this was kind of a must-win game for Rockville as they get ready for Riverdale next week. That's a huge win for the Rockets, plain and simple.
Yep.
It's been kind of an up and down start for Rockville, but they're up here to 2-2 on the season. They're at Riverdale next week. Stewarts Creek gets Cane Ridge at home in a key region matchup for the Red Hawks after that 34-26 loss to the Rockets. Rossview didn't have any trouble, 52-0 win at Northwest as the Hawks improved to 2-0, and they're unbeaten in the region play at 2-0 as well.
Yeah, nice night for Reed Bryant. He was 9 for 9, 181 and 3 touchdowns. You can't get much of a better stat line than that.
Northwest falls to 0-4 at that loss and 0-2 in region play. They've got FRA coming in next week. Rossview will host Clarksville Northeast in another Montgomery County region battle in week number 5. Macon County gets it done in overtime, 6-3 over Smith County as the Owls went for the win in the extra session, and Tigers made a defensive play, Cam.
They did. Macon County takes a 3-0 lead. Smith County was able to kick a field goal at the end of the first half to send it into the halftime at 3-3. Scoreless in the second half, although Smith County did have a possession where they drove down inside the 5-yard line of Macon County, had a couple penalties that pushed them back, missed a field goal with under 2 minutes to go in regulation. That would have won it more than likely for the Owls. Goes into overtime. Macon County gets the ball first. Has to kick a field goal. They go up 6-3. It gets down to 4th and goal from the 2. Coach Dyer decides to go for the win on the road. And I'm assuming, I've not yet to see the play, but I'm assuming they probably tried some kind of like a Philly type play of a play action pass out in the flat, and it was picked off by Zach Borders. So Borders did lead Macon County to victory, but it was not the Borders that we're used to seeing.
Tigers improved to 3-1 with that win. They're back in region play next week at Cumberland County. Smith County trying to get back in their winning ways at home, and still have Trousdale County at home next week.
I think it's a huge win for Macon County in the fact that they did it defensively. And, I think that their defense has been showing up this year, and not quite what we usually talk about with them.
Yep. Fun one at Springfield, 34-33 Yellow Jackets hang on. Station Camp with a big rally and had a chance to win it there at the end.
C.J. Cobbins was a tremendous stat line. He had 4 returns for 220 yards, a kickoff return for a TD, 2 interceptions, 2 pass breakups, 4 tackles, a partridge in a pear tree, 2 receptions, 1 for a touchdown, and 5 carries for 23 yards. He was kind of Mr. Do-It-All for Springfield last night. And, boy, they needed all of it.
Yeah, Station Camp playing from behind most of this game. Springfield just seemed to answer every time that Station Camp was able to tie it or take a small lead, Springfield answered right back immediately. Station Camp's quarterback Luke Dickens goes out in the second quarter of this game with an injury to his face. Looked like he had taken a blow to the head. But they wound up bringing in a freshman quarterback. And I can't remember the young man's first name, but his last name is Overby. He throws for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, and actually scores on the last play of the game. They go for the win on the road like you're supposed to, guys. And unfortunately, a low snap and some pressure from Springfield led to an incomplete pass, and Springfield hangs on.
Yep. Yellow Jackets improved to 2-2 with that win, but they have a big test next week on the road at Centennial Station Camp, trying to get into the win column. They're 0-4 now. They've got Greenbrier at home next week, and they'll hope to get their first win of 2023 in a week's time. White House at home gets it done again, 24-7 over Whites Creek. The Blue Devils are 4-0, 2-0 in region play, and quietly building a pretty darn good season so far.
Yeah, Coach Hamilton over there is, like you said, Chris. It's very, it's a very quiet, under the radar team here that's playing exceptionally well,
especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, really, and that little snippet that you open with, Chris, I feel like we can put that on replay every time White House plays at home, because they just don't lose at home. And now I say that, and they got a tough region opponent coming in next week in Marshall County. But if you're Marshall County, you better come into White House ready to go, because that is a tough place to go win.
If they win that, Franklin needs to go over there and get some of the grass or something over there and just take it back home with them and put it somewhere.
Where's that going to work with the turf, Scott? That's what I want to know.
Well, I didn't say put it on the field.
I'm just saying,
hang it up.
In the office. I was 3/4 through that when I realized they had a turf field.
Whites Creek is 1-2 with that loss. They'll travel to Kirkwood next week to try to get their first region win of 2023. All right, one more set of highlights to show you, Joe. This one is all yours from over in Mount Juliet. So take her away.
Yeah, great game last night over in Wilson County. Aaron Mattingly here scoring on the double pass, just beats his man. This is a play after Greenhill forced a fumble. But Wilson Central answers right back. Excuse me. This was Antoine McKeithen, who just found a hole. He had a great game. He scored twice on the evening. This play, Ethan Kimes, short screen pass on 3rd and long, said, "Get off of me." Takes it down the field. Easy score. He gets penalized for taunting here. I'm not mad about it. Stiff-armed a kid off him, whatever. Second half, opening drive the second half right here. You got Greenhill tying the game up after kind of a slow first half. Aaron Mattingly here again, taking it to the house for his second touchdown of the night. And then here in a second, it'll be Cannon Burrows to Braden Jones over the middle on 4th down with about 5 minutes to go to kind of seal the win. Wilson Central scores here late, but it's too little too late. Greenhill picking up the win, going 4-0.
Older brother to the quarterback tonight who had a great game. Just talk to me a little bit about what you've seen out of him, not only tonight, but so far this season.
Well, I've seen my brother develop in the leadership role of the offense, and I felt like off-season he was a little shaky in the new position, especially when Garen got hurt. I knew he was a little shocked, but I felt like he's really grown confident in his ability to play. And I'm very proud of him. I think he's done a very good job.
Let's talk about your side of the ball. Defensively, obviously they get that 13-6 lead at halftime. What's Coach's message to the defense at the half?
Coach knew that we weren't playing to our full potential, and he just told us to stay in the fight, and we made a couple fixes and we came back, we bounced back, and I'd say we did pretty good.
Obviously, defensively, you guys really stepped it up there in the second half. They get that late touchdown. What are your thoughts on how the defense played tonight?
I felt like the defense really made a comeback. I was a little shaky in the beginning, but I knew we would come back, and that's just how our defense is. We never give up, so I was really confident.
Obviously, last week's win against Summit, super emotional with how close it was. Tonight, you pick up a close win over your Wilson County rival. Yeah. How important is this win as you move through the season?
I feel like this win is very important in keeping momentum during the season, and I'm very glad we came out on top here.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
What's these last 2 weeks in particular? I mean, what's it been like for you going from, that win over Summit to now a win over your Wilson County rival?
It's definitely a great atmosphere. Definitely both games were tight. We just battled through it. Props to my coaches and O-line. They worked really hard, and we just keep working.
They're up 13-6 on you guys at the half. What's coach's message at the half when you guys are trailing like that?
He's motivating us. He's like, bring us back up. He pulled me aside and then talked me up, and then I just came out here with a different approach. And then
These last couple of years, you've watched Cade Mahoney do his thing here. He excelled. Now it's your turn. How much did you maybe learn from him watching him last year?
I learned a lot from him. I trained with him, which made me better because I saw his form and all that, which I used to be like bad.
Right.
And Cade is a good quarterback. I love him.
How important is a win? Obviously, last week the Summit win was nice, but to win against your Wilson County rival and Wilson Central, I mean, how important is this win going forward?
It's definitely a great win.
You're good.
Crosstown rival is just a good battle, and then it just move on to the next week. Will be good.
Going against one of your former coordinators, heck of a game. Just what are your thoughts on how tonight panned out?
I was really proud of us in the second half. We came up, gave up 0 into that last play. They had leaned on us a little bit. Man, they're really well coached on the offensive line. Do a really good job in the back. Coach Coon's doing a great job over there. But the thing is, Wilson County won tonight. It's a good football game. 2 good teams playing, and we're on to Lebanon next week, and hopefully have a good game.
Defensively, like you said last week, obviously kind of maybe left a bad taste in your mouth how many points you guys gave up. Outside of that last drive tonight, defensively strong in the second half.
Yeah, and that last play was Seven making a play, man. It was a good play by him, but I thought we got him in long distance in the second half and was able to keep him from leaning on us a little bit. But, defensively, we went into the halftime, had some few adjustments, some minor changes, so shout out to Coach Long and the defensive staff for making some changes.
You go from Cade Mahoney these last couple of years to a young guy in Cannon Burrows. He's really excelled. Just talk a little bit about what he did for you guys tonight.
I think he's getting coached really, really well. So seeing Coach Job is doing the quarterback scores now with Coach White coming over, it's friendly for him. And, I think they're all in all just getting really well coached. But having him and then having Garen also as helping, leading him and teaching him how to be a good quarterback, that quarterback runs good, and hopefully it'll be good for 3 years.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thanks, man.
27-20 is the final for Green Hill over Wilson Central, and the Hawks improved to 4-0, and they're rolling right now.
Yeah, they had a couple of drives in the first half. They got into the red zone. Instead of kicking field goals, they decided to go for it. Wilson Central's defense stood up, kept them out of the end zone outside of that one opening drive to start the game. They really looked like a different team, though, in the second half. Green Hill did. Cannon Burrows is going to be a guy. We talked a little bit after the interview. I was like, look, man, you're going to have more interviews like this. Just don't sweat it. You did everything you could there. Just had some fun with him. He's going to be a stud. He's got a big arm. He threw for 4 touchdowns last night. And defensively, this Green Hill defense, on the edges, they gave up some stuff. But outside of that, they were stout. They had a really big stop in the fourth quarter, especially after giving the offense fumbled the ball away to keep Wilson Central away from the end zone. But 2 really good teams. Coach Coon's got Wilson Central in a really good spot, I think. This is a team that can compete for a top 3 spot in that region. It was a great atmosphere, fans everywhere. This is kind of what high school football is all about.
Yeah, Joe, you mentioned during the show on Wednesday about how much better this region is than what we were expecting. And I couldn't say it more. We're 4 weeks into the season, almost to the halfway point, and it definitely appears that there's going to be at least one pretty good football team sitting at home come playoff time.
I'm really impressed with the tight end Mattingly. He 6'5"?
He's huge.
And he moves. So he's going to be playing somewhere on Saturday.
He's a great basketball player too.
Yep.
But he's, smooth. catches the ball well, has really good speed for a tight end. So and you can see it going away there. So
Yeah,
they've
big long
got some
strides.
weapons there. Definitely have some weapons at Green Hill.
Yep. Green Hill travels to Lebanon for another region battle next week in the county, and Wilson Central will try to bounce back from the loss. They've got Shelbyville at home next week. Let's get to some out-of-area scores. There was one Thursday night game that nobody really knew about because Clarksville didn't tell anybody, but they won 42-0 at Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and the Wildcats are rolling again. I think they're 4-0.
Yeah, they're really good on both sides of the ball. They're averaging about over 45 points a game. They're only allowing 5.25, so under 6 a game defensively. This Clarksville team is a beast, and it's going to be interesting to see. I don't see anything really standing in the way other than the possibility of Kirkwood coming up that may be able to stop them.
Cannon County falls 21-10 at Forest. Eagleville suffers a 38-13 loss at Collinwood. Lebanon 41-17 winners at Cookeville. And then one of the big games around the state, Lipscomb Academy falls 34-31 at Baylor, but the Mustangs hung tough.
Yeah, Baylor at one point led 24-10. I had this game streaming on my other phone as I'm watching my game just because I was so invested. Amari Jefferson for Baylor, the Alabama 4-star Alabama wide receiver commit, had a great night. That battle against Caleb Beasley, they were going back and forth all night. Caleb Beasley at the end had a great touchdown where he just mossed the defender. Played it simple. I mean, the kid's an athlete. Baylor at home is tough, but I mean, the big thing with this game was we were wondering quarterback wise, what's Lipscomb Academy going to do with Deuce Knight out? And it seems like they're going to be just fine. Rankings wise, spoiler, Lipscomb fans, you may not like it. 1-3, it's hard to keep a team in the top 5. You're right there though, but I think this Lipscomb team is just going to keep getting better and better as the season goes on. They've just played a brutal schedule. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and anyone that disagrees with us moving them out of the top 5, we're not like some other media outlets. We don't rank off of talent. We rank off of results. So
right.
Well, the real test is going to come at the end of the year, like where the final standings are.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And they're all making the playoffs in D2 AAA anyway. So just what they can do when the calendar turns to November, it's really going to matter. I want to go back to something Joe said real quick. Other phone, second phone to watch other games. What a flex!
Look, my former job, I got a work phone that I got to keep. So I got 2. I got one to shoot video and one to stream games on while I'm at a game. So
that's handy.
Yeah, very nice.
That's very, very nice. A few more scores to go over. Mount Juliet 53-13 winners at Warren County. We talk about that region, like the top 3 teams. When we talk about Mount Juliet, Green Hill, and Wilson Central combined for 1 loss so far. They're combined 11-1. So that's a testament to how well they've started. Pope Prep gets in the win column for the first time this year, 40-7 at Webb School. Riverdale on the road at Germantown falls 41-32 to the Red Devils. And Westmoreland 48-7 winners at Jackson County.
Riverdale was up 17-0 in the first quarter. Germantown scored 27 straight in the second quarter. The teams kind of traded things back and forth. Cordero Walker for Germantown. At the end, I think he's going to be in that Mr. Football conversation come the end of the year. He scored a big touchdown to put that game out of reach. It's tough loss for Riverdale, having to go all the way out to Memphis. I think the Warriors will be just fine though.
Go ahead.
Scott. Well, I was just gonna say I agree. Anybody's listening to me knows how I feel about the Red Devils. I think that team has a really good chance to hold up a gold ball in Chattanooga. So, Riverdale staying with them. They've just got to find a way to shut teams down. But this is a hard team to do that with.
Yeah, what I was going to say is sort of similar. Maybe not them holding up the gold ball, but I know we're only going into week 5, but the anticipation for a potential semifinal Brentwood versus Germantown is looking really good.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, folks, that is all the damage we can do score-wise this week. Before we head out, final thoughts from you guys.
Wilson County football is in a very good spot, I think. I obviously Mount Juliet moving to 4-0. Green Hill, we thought they may take a step back with everything they lost. Caleb Carver gone, Cade Mahoney gone, Brax Lamberth gone. No, the Hawks are good. They're going to be just fine. And Wilson Central, we thought, coming into the year, it may take them a year or two under a new coach to get things going. Wildcat fans they're going to have a lot of fun watching this team. Massive offensive line going forward. They can run the ball at will if they want. And then Lebanon is still picking up wins despite everything they lost. So Wilson County football, like Cam said a bit ago, very good spot.
To me, I'm very I'm not surprised, but I'm very pleased to see a little bit of resurgence in the Clarksville football scene. The addition of Kirkwood has seemed to really do that. Just got that, Joe. Has really seemed to kind of jumpstart. Clarksville has always been recently has always been the one that was beating up on everybody. Having another team or two in there to challenge them yearly, I think, is just going to make Clarksville football grow even more.
Yeah, really two things for me. One thing is, a lot of these traditionalists, traditional programs that are winning programs that have won state championships that are kind of have been down in the last couple of years. You're starting to see some glimpses that they may be on the way back. A program like Gallatin, a program like Charleston County, looking better than they did last year. That's one thing. And the other thing is, how much talent, just pure talent is in our area, compared to 10, 15 years ago. We went to that Father Ryan Brentwood Academy game because of the quarterback matchup. If we're being just straight up honest with our viewers, we saw a JoJo Crump versus a George McIntyre, potential quarterback in the SEC, George McIntyre, and JoJo Crump that is not nearly rated, ranked the way he should be, honestly. But it's just what a pleasure we have to be able to cover these athletes.
Yep, a lot of interesting results and some fun games from week number 4, and it was a great night to do it. Again, shout out to the weather for being absolutely great. Not hot, not humid, and nice little breeze too. And it was a fun night. Glad to do it, and glad you guys stuck around for us with the Scoreboard Show this morning, presented by Fifth Year Technology Concepts. Certainly want to thank those sponsors for supporting high school athletics and supporting this show. And that's all the damage we can do for this edition of the 615 Prep Scoreboard, presented by Fifth Gear Technology Concepts. We're back with you Wednesday live at 7 p.m. on all these streaming channels, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and the platform formerly known as Twitter. Now they call it X, but I'm still not going to call it that. But live at 7 for the Mid-State 48. We'll have some more apologies since you guys seem to like it. And, thanks for sticking around with us this Saturday morning. Enjoy the college football and the NFL football this weekend as well. For Cam, for Joe, for Scott, I'm Chris. We are out. We'll see you later. Have a good one.
Go Vols.